Greetings, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. We have some big news to talk about because there's going to be an update starting next month. You see, this is going to be kind of a random story, one might feel, but I majored in multimedia journalism at Mizzou, and that's the University of Missouri, if you didn't know that. And there was a major that basically the concept was, what you need to do is learn a little bit of everything. The problem was, if you learned a little bit of everything, you suddenly weren't good at anything. It was one of those things that you were a jack of all trades and a master of none. Ever heard that phrase? Well, here's the deal, YouTube. When it comes to a jack of all trades but a master of none, we do indeed have this issue. Because we have the inability, and I mean inability, to really get excited about certain changes that affect all of us. So what I mean by that is that let's take a buff like Yellow Jacket. I mean, it's fine, but it's not game changing. A lot of these buffs that were meant to make champions really exciting just made them, I guess, a little bit better. But in the end, I'm not really any more excited to use OG Black Panther, for example, than I was before. And so most of the time, that's just the case. And not every champion can be buffed like, say, Red Mags or Colossus. But it still is the case that when you have 3 champion updates every month, a lot of champions just get lost in the shuffle. I will say a big honorable mention to the exception of this recently was Diablo, who remains one of my favorite rank 3 6-star champions I have on my roster. Let's check out what the MCOC team says, though. Greetings, Summoners. As of September, we'll be reducing the number of champions updated every month to 2 per month. Our goal is to maintain 1 overhaul per month and then alternate between a value-only update and a moderate update. I still don't really know if I truly understand the impacts of those because it varies so much depending on the champion being buffed, but sometimes it makes more sense than others, we'll say that. When we switched to the 3 per month schedule, we were being quite ambitious. We wanted to deliver more value to our Summoners rosters as quickly as we could, but unfortunately, it's led to some less than desirable results. Remember, a jack of all trades, a master of none. This is kind of what this means to me. First, this basically changed our champion release cadence from 2 per month to 5 per month. The work required to test and balance an updated champion is no less than a brand new champion, and with 5 being released per month, we are experiencing some less than perfect updates. Champion updates released with bugs, and while bugs will happen, we and our players were not happy with the releases. And not to mention, if a champion did really well, they could also say it was a bug because they were outperforming what they hoped. So bugs are this tricky thing that kind of hurt everybody, but especially the player base when you end up getting trust issues, shall we say, from it. Secondly, the sheer volume of updated champions led to many of the updates being overshadowed or forgotten. Now, this is what I mean by oh yeah, he was kind of buffed or she was kind of buffed. I guess. The amount of conversation we'd see focusing on just one of the champions every month while the other 2 didn't receive much attention leads us to our final point. And I get that if you spend a lot of time focusing on the buff of one champion and then because one of the other 2 champions was seen as better, suddenly, all of your work, if you're at Kabam and you're a coder or you're just in general trying to help improve the game, gets lost and kind of ignored. So, we've heard it from our players and feel it ourselves. Some of the updates are not up to the level that Summoners had hoped. While not every champion is meant to suddenly skyrocket to the top of the DPS charts, which also sounds like a random hits of music, I might add, or replace every champion in your roster, we feel that players are not happy with some of the updates they have received lately. While we understand that this change will lead to fewer champion updates per month, we believe that this will allow us to give you better quality updates every month with fewer issues. We'll continue to update 2 champions per month until we come to the point where we have only worked through our moderate value only champions and will need to reassess when there are only overhauls to be finished. Now that would be kind of an exciting part of the game because then that means that overhauls are the best, most exciting buffs often when they take a trash champion and make them fun, like Diablo, as I just said. Thank you for understanding the MCOC team. Now this is update 1 of 2 thanks to my man Brian Shadow Strike. The other dealt with the Alliance or rating. Now, this is not something that I've really notice because I don't do Alliance War, but Summoner, some of you may have noticed a discrepancy in your Alliance's war rating last week while Alliance Wars were suspended. We apologize for the oversight and would like you all to know that we will make any possible and appropriate adjustments to rectify some of the discrepancies. We will be reverting any changes during that period to our top 5% alliances. So, thank you for your understanding and cooperation during this adjustment. I don't know if that means all other 95% alliances who maybe didn't or saw a change or just going to have to live with it. This post kind of confuses me, but maybe somebody out there understands it better than I do. The top 5% alliances being in bold is usually not a good sign for everybody else. Well, there you have it. Some big news for this Wednesday night when it comes to the amount of champions going forward. You know, I think that we should, as a community, want Kabam to do what the opposite of my humor is. My YouTube channel, whether it be the amount of videos that I create or certainly my puns, relies on a philosophy known as quantity over quality. I'm like a baseball player. If I hit 3 out of 10, I feel like I'm going into the YouTube Hall of Fame. But that's not how you want your buffs to be. You want it to be quality over quantity, and I feel like this past forum post that we just had up was certainly talking about how it was quantity over quality, and this is going to be something that hopefully is rectified. So I think it's a welcome addition, assuming the overhauls actually feel like overhauls, and probably will help Kabam to feel like their work's not being overlooked on certain champions. Maybe this also means that champions that they thought were going to be buffed, that really didn't feel like they were buffed, will get more of an overhaul, so they'll get like a second buff at the end. Who knows if that's the case. Certainly there's still champions like Groot and Joe Can't Fix His Own Tie that need to be buffed. In the meantime, that does it for this video. Thanks again to Brian Shadow Strike for continuing to keep me updated with the forums. And otherwise, have a great rest of your evening, morning, whatever time you're clicking on this video. I appreciate that you did.